This is Two Balding Nerds. I'm Kellen.
And I'm George, and today we're discussing the new trailer for Morbius.
Trailer number
A character.
2.
Oh yes, right, trailer number two. A character I have literally never heard of, never seen anything to do with, and apparently is a vampire.
Kind of quasi vampire. I don't even know if he's like technically one. I think he is.
Yeah.
I do recall most of what I know about Morbius is from the Spider-Man animated series. That's how old George and I are. We are both 30, as we mentioned in our last video. So a lot of the things we're going to be pulling from is from things that probably some of the younger listeners might not even know about.
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, for me, you mentioned, I think, for that, you saw him through the Spider-Man TV show, the one that used to air on Fox.
Yes, the one on Fox, it was called the Spider-Man animated series, and it kind of was, I want to say, a bit of a rival to the Batman animated series. Um, I think that's kind of
That
what they were going for back then. Uh,
that's cute to try and rival that show, but okay.
it was definitely a good cartoon. It was kind of like the animated series for Batman, where they, I don't want to say they dealt with more adult topics, but I mean, cartoons when we were younger were a lot more, I don't want to say dark, but they had stronger themes to them. I feel like a lot of cartoons nowadays kind of play down to kids, like they aren't smart enough or whatever to understand the subject matter.
The
Um,
FCC, the FCC wasn't as heavy-handed as they are nowadays. You have to be really clever as a show to get away with any type of, lack of a better word, more adult themes, I'd say.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I mean there was adult sort of reference. I mean, still in cartoons today and stuff like that, there's adult references, but some of them from our day were a little bit more on the nose. Like there was a meme I saw recently. You remember the cartoon Hey Arnold?
yeah,
So
there's a
there is
point.
one where the female character, I think her name was Helga or whatever, she was obsessed with Arnold, and apparently she was looking at a picture of Arnold, and she says that you make my girlhood tremble, and this was a show meant for like 8 to 10 year olds, and that was allowed.
I just brain farted there. I thought when you said, "Hey Arnold," I was thinking of Arthur until you said that. Until you
Jeez.
continued on. Anyways, let's get back to Morbius
Yeah, let's
before I
stop
embarrass
dating
myself
ourselves
again.
here. Yeah, holy smokes. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, um, it's funny how comic book movies are becoming more and more star-studded. Like just a few of the names that I counted there, and I mean some of these guys are B-list actors or whatever, but there's Tyrese Gibson. He looks like he's playing a cop in this movie. Jared Leto, of course. Jared Harris. Do you know who Jared Harris is?
The name's not ringing a bell actually.
Okay, do you remember the first Dumbledore?
Yeah, the one who was really good and passed away, unfortunately.
Yes, that was Jared Harris's father.
Oh
So
wow.
his the man that played Dumbledore, was it Richard Harris? I think his name was. His son Jared Harris. If you've ever watched Mad Men, he's on Mad Men for a couple of seasons. Um, his character's name is Lane Price. He's a very good
Oh,
actor as well.
yeah.
So I was kind of shocked to see him there, and I'm kind of excited to see what his role in the film is. And then, of course, we have Michael Keaton. And
Praise be to Michael Keaton, the original Batman.
oh yes, and he's supposed to be coming back as Batman, but well, I guess we'll talk about that when the trailer for the Flash movie comes out, whenever that happens. Um,
So, so we this one he might be Vulture and he might be coming back as Batman. He's really winging this, isn't he?
oh, God damn it, George. But anyway, yeah. So being that he's coming back in this movie, there have been rumors going around that Sony is trying to make their own, I guess, parallel universe of sorts to Marvel's MCU, and I think they either are trying to conjoin them, or I feel like what they're going to do is they're going to use the new Phase 4, which deals with the multiverse. I feel like they're going to use that as an excuse to pull Tom Holland out of the MCU and place him into the Sony. I think they're calling it the Spider Verse. They have an animated
Oh,
Spider Verse, but I think that they're trying to develop a live action one,
hmm.
and I think that they're going to be pulling certain characters out in order to establish that. And I think we're going to be seeing the culmination of that in Spider-Man No Way Home, because I've also heard that um, there's no contract beyond that movie for Tom Holland to be Spider-Man,
Mm.
at least with um, Marvel and the MCU and whatnot. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's interesting. There was also another point in the trailer where we see like it looks like a poster of Spider-Man on the wall, and somebody's graffitied over it and it says "murderer."
Hmm. And it's the one with, and it looks kind of more like, I'd say, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It's not 100%, but I'd say the closest is to that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is interesting because I mean Tobey Maguire, his Spider-Man was only accused of being a murderer by his friend Harry Osborn, who believed that that Spider-Man killed his dad. But I don't think that's what they're pointing at. I think what they're trying to get at is the most recent Spider-Man, Tom Holland, and how there's now the public's belief is that he killed Mysterio.
okay, because I was gonna say the Garfield also didn't get accused of any murdering, if I recall, so that kind of ex-nays him completely.
Yeah, so it's
But
interesting. There's two potential Spider-Men, and the one on the poster, like you mentioned, it kind of looks like Tobey Maguire. So we'll see where that ends up going. Speaking of Oscorp, though, there
Mhm.
is a shot, like kind of a skyscraper shot, like most trailers have, and
Mhm.
Oscorp's actually in the background.
Oh, I
So
missed that completely.
so I feel like Oscorp may play into this a little bit. I feel like if I had to guess, I feel like Michael Morbius, being that he's a doctor, I think initially, at the beginning part of the film, he's trying to research bats to cure the disease that he has. And I think Oscorp is going to be maybe playing a role. I think they're going to help him develop, I guess, a cure to his disease, his ailment. And I think that's what's going to end up going awry, and I think it's going to end up giving him the powers that we see in the trailer.
I was gonna also say, this might just be because I also, I still need to see the Venom movies. I can't believe I somehow missed seeing those. But like the Venom movies didn't seem to have as much, lack of better word, so dark. Like these ones are like getting DC level dark. And I'm going like, I guess it kind of works because the character seems so, well, he's a freaking vampire. Would you say that, just based off what you know about the character, that it, he's more of a villain, or is he like a good? Like, I didn't like how they turned Venom into kind of more of a protagonist, good guy with a little bit of a dark edginess, and I'm kind of worried that is this another villain of Spider-Man's that they're gonna turn into like a sympathetic villain-ish type of thing.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I mean, I kind of felt the same way about Venom, and um, I've I always refer back to watching the Spider-Man animated series, and I mean, in the animated series, there are points where Venom does end up helping Peter Parker
Mhm.
with certain foes that Venom himself can't defeat, so he begrudgingly goes and enlists the help of Spider-Man because he knows that he can't do it alone, as opposed to him having some sort of like self-righteous sort of motivation, as it appears like in this Venom movie. I watched the first one, by the way, and I mean, honestly, it wasn't too great. I'm hearing the second one's better, but again, nothing to write home about. I personally haven't seen the second one yet, but I plan to just for completionist's sake. Um, it's funny you mentioned though the aspect of him maybe having a bit of a character arc where he is a sympathetic character. It appears to me like in this trailer they're trying to portray him as maybe more of a villain, but I feel like I feel like they're really drumming that up. I don't know if it'll end up playing out that way. I know from my experience with Morbius's character in the animated series, he was a sympathetic character. He
Okay.
did end up, you know, getting this affliction, this disease, this curse almost, if you will, of being a vampire, and he hated it. He had an eternal love for a woman named Felicia Hardy,
Mhm.
who I believe was Black Cat in the
Oh,
Spider-Man series, and
okay.
he was like in love with her before he ended up getting this disease or this curse, whatever. And that really hampered his ability to be with her. And so he was almost like Dracula, like he pined
Mhm.
for her, but he can never be with her. So I wonder the female character in the trailer that they show. I wonder if she's playing Felicia Hardy or if they're gonna
Mhm.
like maybe explore that aspect in the movie. I personally, just due to the fact that from what I remember him being a sympathetic character, I kind of want to see that again because that's kind of
Mhm.
what I'm used to. Um, I don't know if Morbius is really cut out to be a villain, honestly. I mean, especially with the fact that like he's a doctor and he's trying to cure people, and you see him like it looks like he works at a children's hospital, right? It's like how can
Well,
you hate somebody like that?
well, at the same time, I go like, he does sound like, just based off everything we've been talking about, that he could be an excellent subject for a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of character, where there is the good doctor trying to do the right thing, but then the monster inside takes over, and that makes it very unique, and uh, as opposed to like the Hulk, where it was kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing again. Hulk was just bashing, beating shit up. This guy could still have his wits about him, but be like forced to do evil because he, I guess, needs to actually stay alive or something.
Yeah, I think that he will end up staying like a vampire, like you see towards the later part of the trailer. He looks like he's fully transformed, and I think that's how he's gonna stay because that's what ended up happening in the cartoon series.
Mhm.
Was he slowly changed into this, and his affliction took over. Um, so I feel like that's kind of what's gonna happen. There was a point in the trailer where I noticed that he's looking at a newspaper and it's the Daily Bugle,
Okay.
and so I'm almost wondering. Part of me is giddy inside, and I'm hoping that J.K. Simmons, the actor that portrayed J. Jonah Jameson in the Tobey Maguire series of Spider-Man films, and most recently in no, not what's Homecoming was the second one, Far From Home. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like he's gonna show up again in this movie, and if he does, I'm probably gonna cheer in the theater.
Yeah. He is J. Jonah Jameson. There's no.
To a T. I don't think there's anybody that could have played him better. It's kind of like how I mentioned Ryan Reynolds or Hugh Jackman. Like certain people are
Yeah.
like born to play certain roles. He was
Mhm.
born to be J. Jonah Jameson. You
Yeah.
can't convince me
Exactly.
otherwise. I'm sorry.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, without a
So
doubt.
lastly, I just want to double check. What is his powers exactly? Because he's like half man, half bear, half, no, wrong person. He's half man, half like bat thing. So he's not going to sprout wings, but he can fly. He sucks blood, and he apparently has sonar, just like a submarine, Mister Wayne, like a submarine.
Ugh, that line always bothered me. So in the cartoon, he's able to fly somehow without wings. He defies physics, and
Like
he
bats normally
he
do.
he generates thrust out of his ass or something. Uh,
Excellent.
yeah, I don't know. He can fly. He is super strong. He has a temperament of an angry bear, kind of like man, bear, pig.
Ha,
He has the incessant need to feed. It's weird in the animated series. He has these like weird sucker things. Like you know how like an octopus has suckers on its tentacles, right? He like kind of has those built into his hands, and he's almost like um, it's Rogue from X Men that touches you and sucks out your life
yep,
force, right? So he
yep.
almost has like a similar power to that in the animated series. I don't
It,
think that's gonna show up in this.
I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if it did that in the animated series because having a animated character in the '90s disembowel someone for their life, for their blood, seems like it might have not flown past the FCC even back in that time.
Yeah, I think that was probably put in place to replace him biting people, at least
Hmm.
like being depicted as biting people. But um, either way, it's a pretty cool sort of like I don't know biological feature to have. Um, that as long as you can grab somebody, you can sort of suck their blood, sort of thing, like a leech, I guess. Um, but yeah, um,
Less romantic. I'm gonna leech you instead of biting you.
ugh, gross. Uh, being that you don't know much about the character and you this is all kind of new to you. You didn't know this was coming out, did you?
No, you when you said, "Hey, you should check out the Morbius trailer," I thought you were saying Morpheus from Matrix. So I was like, "Oh, okay, Matrix." I was trying to find that. I was like, "Where the hell's the Matrix thing for Morpheus?" And it's like, "No, it's Morbius." I'm like, "Oh,
I mean, if you really wanted to, you and I could do a trailer review on the fourth Matrix movie. They do have one of it that's out currently.
true." And it's a good thing I didn't actually come to this one being like, "Oh yeah, so the fourth trailer," and then you start talking about a vampire, be like, "Oh wow, I must have been
I'm
smoking
way
something."
off. What is going
Yeah.
on here?
So overall, I think you're saying as far as this trailer goes, I give it a I give it a 7 out of 10. Um, but I think that's partly because of my absolute ignorance towards the character, where knew nothing about it. Like I would not say the trailer did a good job of making me really want to be in the like go and see it right off the bat. As a film, I'd be like, yeah, I'll watch it like when it comes out for free kind of idea is how I currently feel about it. But in all honesty, I felt kind of similar to when I saw the Venom trailer, and I really, really liked the Venom character. I was just kind of, I not like, I like a lot of things Sony does, but I've just been finding a lot of these Spider Universe films that they've been making have not really been able to get good grip compared to like it might just be because they have to compete with the juggernaut that is the MCU, where it's like, well, what do I want to spend my money on? The MCU, which is like a guaranteed great film to sit in, and worst case scenario, you just go, "Oh, it was fun. I enjoyed my time, and it's not a waste of my money." Or or spending your money on something where you go, "Well, they kind of have a few misfires," I'd say. So it hasn't quite got me super excited. Maybe if they release another trailer or give a little explanation of Keaton, in honesty, if they do something that shows that they have like somehow worked with Disney and connected it with the MCU and like the multiverse, then I think I would be full blown into it. Just right now, it just hasn't quite caught me.
I think what you had to say there was fair. I'm kind of the same way with at least the Sony Marvel films that have been coming out. Is I think the most apt way you can put it is they haven't hit the mark.
Hmm.
Um, they haven't been terrible. They just haven't been great. Like I think we are set up to expect now with Marvel movies. They're usually pretty damn good,
Hmm.
with a few minor exceptions. And when you don't hit that mark, it's kind of like it's almost like there's no middle ground. It's either it's great or it sucked. You know. Um,
Yeah,
well,
kind
I,
of.
I mean, I think that's how the general public tend to view it, is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Not that that's actually the case. As far as myself, um, I think that they did a good job with editing the trailer. I'm a little bit nervous about the movie. I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to turn out well. As far as this movie goes, I am looking forward to watching it. I'm just, like I said before, I'm just not sure it's going to be uh, great. I feel like it's going to kind of, be similar to at least the first Venom movie, where it was kind of like, that was entertaining, but it wasn't anything to write home about. So
Mhm.
we'll see how that ends up turning out. Um, I feel like with Jared Leto and his acting chops, and especially playing more of a character role, like he wasn't so great as the Joker in Suicide
Wasn't so
Squad.
great.
He
That's a very
wasn't he
polite way
wasn't
of
really
putting it.
given anything though. So I don't really pin the blame on him as far as that goes, but I've seen him in other movies. There's one called The Dallas Buyers Club, and oddly enough, he plays, I think he's either trans or he's like a drag queen or whatever, and he's like a meth addict or
Mhm.
he's a drug addict of some sort in that movie, and it's a more character driven film, and he's phenomenal in it. So I'm hoping this movie ends up being a little bit more character driven and sort of less actiony, so that he can sort of uh, show us his acting chops that I know he has. So I'm
Okay.
looking forward to it in that respect. But we'll find out how it turns out when it comes out. And this is probably a movie I'll end up seeing in the theaters myself, but I'm a little bit of a snob and I like to keep up to date on things.
I'll if eh. I don't think I would personally like seek this out on my own. Like other films I'd be like, oh, I want to see this one personally, but I go, ah, give me a free popcorn and a drink. I could see myself going like, yeah, okay, I'll sit through this. Probably won't be that bad.
All right,
Um,
then it's my treat. I'll take you to see this movie.
yeah, that's how I get a free movie.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. Um, so that was us reviewing the Morbius 2 trailer. Hopefully, we get to see another one. Maybe that'll change our mind, or at least George's mind a little bit. But until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe our videos for more content. We will be coming out with more trailer reviews. We plan on doing some MCU movie reviews. There's going to be lots of stuff coming out in the future, so stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you next time. All right,
Yeah, may the force be with you.
and also with you.